The city of Zyra Prime was alive with noise, colors, and movement. Towering buildings made of shining metal and glass reached up into the cloudy sky. Bright neon lights blinked on every corner, advertising strange alien foods and futuristic gadgets. Hovercars zipped past overhead, leaving trails of blue and green light behind them. But in one small dark alley far from the busy streets, something very different was happening. Zilara sat on the cold stone floor, her back against a cracked wall. Tears ran down her face. Her clothes were torn and dirty, and her once bright eyes were filled with sadness and fear. She was crying quietly, trying not to make too much noise. Around her, the city's crowd rushed past, but no one looked her way. She had been robbed her money, her identification, even the small gift from her family. Everything was gone. The people who hurt her didn't just take her things, they also took her hope. She felt alone and invisible, like a shadow that no one noticed. Zilara was not from Zelur Prime originally. She had come from a peaceful planet far away. Once she was a diplomat, someone who worked to bring peace between worlds. But her planet had fallen to war, and now she was a stranger in a strange place, without help or friends. She didn't know what to do next. The noise of the city was loud, but the alley was quiet. Only the soft sound of her sobbing broke the silence. She didn't want anyone to see her like this. She wished she could disappear. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the alley. Zilara looked up quickly, her heart pounding. She expected more trouble. But instead of danger, she saw a man. He was different from the aliens she knew. He looked strong and kind at the same time. His skin was pale and his eyes were bright with curiosity. He wore simple clothes, nothing like the fancy suits of the city's elite. In his hand, he held a small bag. The man stopped a few feet away from her. He looked surprised to see someone in this forgotten place. Most people ignored people like Zilara. "Are you okay?"
Ow.
The man asked gently. Zilara didn't answer. She just looked down, afraid to trust him. The man didn't push, sat down a little distance from her. "My name is Jack," he said softly. "I've seen many places and many people. But I've never seen someone so alone. If you want, I can." "Help." Zilara blinked. No one had ever offered help without wanting something in return. She felt a small spark of hope. Jack reached into his bag and pulled out a clean cloth and some water. He handed them to her. "Hey, you need to clean your face." Slowly, Zilara took the cloth and wiped her tears. She looked at Jack again, smiled, warmly, without judgment. "Why are you helping me?" she asked quietly. Jack shrugged. "Maybe because I believe every person deserves kindness, even if the world forgets them." For the first time in days, Zilara felt something she had not felt in a long time. Comfort. Jack stood up and offered his hand. "Come with me. There's a place nearby where you can rest." Zilara hesitated, but then took his hand. She stood slowly. Her legs were weak, but she felt stronger with Jack beside her. They walked out of the alley and into the bright city streets. The noise was loud again, but this time Zilara did not feel invisible. She felt seen. As they walked, Jack told her stories about his travels. He spoke about planets he had visited, about people who had lost everything but still found hope. Words were simple, but full of meaning. Zilara listened carefully. She had never met a human before. In her experience, humans were known to be tough, sometimes even cruel. But Jack was different. He was kind and patient. She began to wonder if maybe humans had something special, something worth trusting. After a short walk, they reached a small building that looked like a community center. The sign above the door read Safe Haven. Inside, soft light and warmth welcomed them. People of different shapes and colors were sitting together, sharing food and stories. The atmosphere was peaceful, a sharp contrast to the harsh city. Outside, Jack introduced Zilara to a woman named Mira, who ran the center. Mira smiled kindly and offered Zilara a warm meal. As Zilara ate, she felt her strength returning. She looked around the room and saw others like her, people who had been hurt or lost. Yet here they found comfort and hope. Jack stayed close, watching over her. He seemed to understand that healing would take time. That night, as Zalara rested on a simple cot, she thought about everything that had happened. She remembered the pain, but also the unexpected kindness. Maybe, just maybe, this human man was the beginning of something new. Outside, the city lights continued to shine, but in that small room, a fragile light of hope was growing. The next morning, the city of Zera Prime was already awake, humming with its usual noise. But inside the safe haven, the small community center where Zalara had found shelter, a quiet energy was growing. Zalara sat at a round table with other visitors. Some were aliens, others were humans like Jack. The room was filled with soft chatter, warm smiles, and the smell of fresh food. For the first time in a long while, Zalara felt safe. Jack sat beside her, his easy smile never fading. He spoke softly, encouraging her to talk about herself if she wanted. But Zalara was still quiet. The pain from the past days was heavy, and words were hard to find. Jack understood. He had seen many people like this before, people who had lost much but had not lost everything. "I know it's hard," Jack said gently, "but you're not alone anymore." Zalara looked up at him. His eyes were honest, full of something she had almost forgotten, hope. Over the next few days, Zalara began to recover her strength. Jack taught her simple things: how to move safely through the busy city streets, how to talk to people without fear, and how to look after herself. But Jack was not just kind. He was brave. He didn't just survive in this tough world, he fought back against the unfairness. One afternoon, Jack took Zalara to a crowded market filled with strange foods and noisy vendors. As they walked, Jack stopped a man who was bullying a small alien child. The man was tall and rough, but Jack stood his ground. "Leave him alone," Jack said firmly. The bully sneered, but Jack's calm and strong voice made him think twice. He backed away. Zalara watched, surprised. She had never seen anyone stand up so confidently before. "Why do you do that?" she asked when they were alone again. Jack smiled. "Because no one should be afraid. Because people deserve respect. And because sometimes you have to show them you're not weak." Zalara nodded slowly. She began to understand that Jack was different. His kindness was powerful, not weak, gave others strength. In the days that followed, Jack's reputation grew. People started to notice a human who refused to stay quiet. He helped those in need, spoke up against injustice, and never backed down. Some aliens were curious, others were suspicious. They had heard stories about humans, how they were tough, wild, even dangerous. But Jack was none of those things. Was something new. One evening at Safe Haven, a group of aliens gathered to talk. They whispered about Jack and the strange hope he brought. "He is different," one said, "but maybe that is what we need." Zalara listened. For the first time she felt like she belonged, not just because she was safe, but because she was part of something bigger. Jack had opened a door. That night, under the soft light of the center, Zalara shared a small story from her past. She spoke about her home planet, the peace she had once known, and the loss that had brought her here. The others listened, some with tears, others with quiet respect. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. "Your story matters," he said, "and so do you." Zalara felt a warmth inside her heart. The darkness was still there, but it was softer now. She was not invisible. She was seen, but the city outside was still dangerous. The gangs that ruled. The streets did not like Jack's growing influence. They saw him as a threat. And some leaders in the city government whispered about what a human could mean for their control. One night, as Jack returned to Safe Haven, he noticed shadowy figures watching him from the corners. He did not fear them. He knew this was just the beginning. When he reached the center, he told Zalara and the others, "We need to be careful, but we can't stop. People need to know there is hope." Zalara looked at Jack, feeling a new kind of strength. She was ready to stand with him, together. They planned how to help more people. They decided to teach skills, share food, and offer shelter to those who were lost. Jack's spirit was unbreakable. He was a human, but more than that, he was a symbol of hope and courage. As the days passed, Zilara found herself smiling more. She spoke with others, made friends, and even dreamed again. She realized something important. In this vast, alien world, humanity was not just about where someone was from. It was about the heart and the spirit inside, and Jack's spirit was bright. One afternoon, as they walked through a busy plaza, Jack pointed to a group of children playing together, aliens and humans side by side, laughing without worry. "This is what we fight for," he said quietly. Zilara looked around, seeing the small signs of change everywhere. The city was still full of challenges, but for the first time, she saw the future differently. With Jack by her side, she believed anything was possible. The city of Zyre Prime was a place where many dreams came to die. Its tall buildings and bright lights hid the struggles of those who lived below in the shadowed streets, forgotten corners. But Jack, the human man, was changing that word. Had spread quickly about the stranger who refused to stay silent. People whispered his name with hope, and others with fear. Small group of friends was growing aliens, and humans who wanted a better life, who no longer wanted to hide in the shadows. Zilara stood beside Jack one afternoon on the rooftop of a building overlooking the city. The sun was setting, painting the sky with soft reds and golds. From here, the city looked peaceful, but they both knew it was far from that. "People are afraid," Zilara said quietly. "They don't trust easily." Jack nodded. "I know, but fear can be broken." They looked down at the streets below, where life went on as usual. But Jack saw more than just the crowds. He saw the pain, the anger, and the hope. For weeks, Jack and Zilara had worked together to build something new, a small rebellion, but a peaceful one. They helped people in need, shared food, taught others how to stand up for themselves without violence. They wanted to show the city a better way, but not everyone liked their message. The gangs and the city's corrupt leaders saw Jack's actions as a threat. They met in dark rooms, planning how to stop him. But Jack was clever and careful. He knew he could not fight with force alone. Instead, Jack used his strongest weapon, his words. One evening, Jack spoke at a crowded meeting in Safe Haven. The room was filled with people from many different worlds. Some were scared, some angry, and some tired of living in fear. Jack stood tall and spoke clearly. "We are not weak," he said. "We are not invisible. We're the people who will change this city, not with weapons or hatred, but with courage and kindness." The crowd listened, their eyes shining with hope. For many, it was the first time they believed in a future without fear. Zilara stood beside him, proud and inspired. But the city's dark powers did not give up. One day, a group of officials arrived at Safe Haven. They demanded to speak with Jack. The room fell silent as Jack met with the leaders. They warned him to stop. They said his actions were dangerous, that he was making trouble. Jack smiled calmly. "Trouble is what happens when people open their eyes," he said. "You can try to silence us, but you cannot stop change." The leaders left, angry but unsure. Outside, Zilara felt a new fire inside her. She was no longer just a victim. She was part of something bigger. Over the next days, Jack and Zilara organized meetings in secret places across the city. They shared their message of hope and unity. More and more people joined them. Aliens who once ignored each other now worked side by side. Humans who felt lost found new purpose. The gangs tried to scare them, but Jack's group stood firm. They refused to fight with violence. Instead, they showed the city that strength came from standing together. One night, Jack and Zilara visited a poor neighborhood where the city's gangs held power. They walked the streets calmly, greeting people with smiles. Some were surprised, others suspicious. But Jack's kindness was clear. "We are here for you," he told them. "You don't have to live in fear." Slowly, the neighborhood began to change. People cleaned their homes, opened small shops, and helped each other. Zilara watched, amazed. She saw the power of hope growing stronger. But change was never easy. The city council decided to take stronger action. They spread rumors that Jack and his group were dangerous outsiders. They used fear to try to turn people against them. Zalara felt the weight of the city's history, the fear, the hate, the distrust, but Jack would not give up. He stood before a crowd in the city square, facing the whispers and the fear. Fear divides us, he said, but hope unites us. We are all part of this city. We are stronger together. The crowd cheered. Zalara smiled. She knew their fight was just beginning, but for the first time, she believed they could win. The human man had shown them a new way of courage, kindness, and hope, and the city of Zera Prime would never be the same. The bright towers of Zera Prime glimmered under the twin suns as the city hummed with life. But inside the tall glass building where the alien council met, the atmosphere was tense and heavy. The council was the true power behind the city, the group that controlled laws, money, and secrets. They watched the growing influence of Jack, the human man, and his peaceful rebellion with deep concern. Counselor Varnes, a tall alien with sharp eyes and smooth blue skin, slammed his clawed hand on the table. This human is a threat too. Our order, he said loudly, stirs the weak and causes chaos. We must stop him. Other council members nodded. Some whispered about fear of change. Others worried about losing their control over the city's gangs and wealth. We cannot allow him to unite the people, said Counselor Rethel, his voice cold. Humans are outsiders. They do not belong here. But Counselor Yella, a softer voice among them, spoke carefully. We should be cautious. The people are tired of fear. Jack speaks of hope. If we crush him, we may lose more than we gain. Varney shook his head. We must act. If we let this continue, the city will fall apart. So the council made a plan to protect their power by spreading fear. They sent out messages to the city's news channels, claiming humans were dangerous outsiders who wanted to take over. They warned citizens to be careful, to distrust the human man and his followers. The city's streets filled with whispers and suspicion. People who had once listened to Jack began to doubt. Some even turned away. Zalara heard these rumors and felt a chill. She knew how easy it was for fear to spread like wildfire. She met with Jack in a quiet room at Safe Haven. They want to break us, she said, her voice steady but worried. They use fear as a weapon. Jack looked at her with calm eyes. We expected this. It only means we are making a difference. But how do we fight fear? Zalara asked. It is invisible, but it hurts more than any weapon. Jack smiled gently. With truth and courage, they decided to face the council's lies head-on. They organized meetings, speeches, and gatherings where they shared their real stories. They showed kindness and openness, inviting people to ask questions and learn the truth. Zalara used her skills as a former diplomat. She spoke in calm, clear words that touched the hearts of listeners. She told them about her own pain and hope, and how Jack's kindness had changed her life. Jack stood beside her, sharing stories of his travels and the power of unity. His simple words, full of honest feeling, began to break through the walls of fear, slowly. People started to listen again, but the council was not finished. They tried to find ways to make Jack look bad. They spread false rumors about his past. They sent agents to watch him and the safe haven. One night, Zalara noticed strange figures near their center. She warned Jack. We must be careful, she said. They are watching. Jack nodded. Then we will be careful, but we will not stop. He gathered the group and said, This city is our home. Cannot let fear rule us. The people nodded, feeling stronger together. Meanwhile, the council's actions had unintended effects. The more they tried to spread fear, the more people questioned their power. Many citizens began to see the council not as protectors, but as rulers afraid of change. The city's young people, especially, were inspired by Jack's message. They wanted a future where everyone was accepted. One afternoon, Jack and Zalara stood in a busy square filled with thousands of people. They spoke not with anger or fear, but with hope. We are not enemies, Jack said loudly. We are friends. Together, we can build a city where everyone belongs. The crowd cheered, their voices echoing through the streets. The council watched nervously from their towers. Zalara smiled at Jack. "We are winning hearts. The city is waking up." Jack smiled back. "This is just the beginning." But both knew the road ahead would be long. The council's power was deep, and fear was a strong enemy. Yet, in the faces of the people around them, the young and old, alien and human, there was hope. A hope that could not be stopped. The city of Zyre Prime was no longer the same. The bright lights still shone, and the towers still touched the sky, but beneath the surface, something was changing. A new spirit was growing among its people. Jack and Zalara stood together in the heart of the city, where a crowd had gathered. They had become leaders of a movement that many believed impossible, a peaceful stand against fear and division. But the fight was not easy. The Alien Council, desperate to keep control, had begun using stronger tactics to scare the people. Rumors grew louder, warning of dangers and outsiders. Many were confused, unsure who to trust. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Jack gathered his friends at Safe Haven. The room was quiet but full of determination. "We have come far," Jack said, "but there is still much work to do. Fear is strong, but our hope is stronger." Zalara nodded. "We must show the city that unity is our greatest strength." Together, they planned to reach out even further, visiting neighborhoods where fear ruled, helping those who had lost hope, and teaching others to stand tall without anger or hate. The next day, they traveled to a poor district known for its harsh living conditions. Here, the gangs held power, and many people were afraid to speak. Jack and Zalara walked the dusty streets, greeted by cautious but curious eyes. They met families, children, and elders who shared stories of hardship. "We are here to help," Zalara said softly. "You are not alone." Slowly, the people began to open up. Jack helped organize cleanup teams, while Zalara spoke with parents about their dreams for their children. Together, they created small gardens and empty lots, places where people could gather, share food, and smile again. It was simple, but powerful. As days passed, more people joined their cause. They learned that change did not come from fighting, but from caring and working together. One afternoon, Jack stood with a group of children, teaching them how to read and write. Their bright faces and eager hands gave him hope for the future. Suddenly, a messenger arrived from the city council, bringing a warning. "The council will not accept this change," the messenger said. "They threaten to cut off food and water to neighborhoods that support you." Jack listened calmly. "We will not give up," he said firmly. Zalara looked at him with admiration. "Your courage gives us strength." That night, the people gathered to share what little food they had. They sang songs, told stories, and held hands. Fear was still there, but so was hope. The city council's threats only made the people more determined. They realized the council's power was not as strong as it seemed. A great meeting was called in the city square, a place where people from all backgrounds came together. Jack spoke to the crowd, his voice strong and clear. "We are not just fighting for ourselves," he said. "We fight for our children, for our friends, for a city where everyone belongs." The crowd cheered, their voices rising like a wave. Zalara added, "We are breaking the chains of fear. Together, we build new bonds, stronger than anything the council can control." The crowd swelled with energy. People who had been silent found their voices. Aliens and humans stood side by side, united. The city's leaders watched from their towers, surprised and uneasy. The peaceful rebellion was no longer small. It was a movement. The next morning, Jack and Zalara visited the council chambers. This time, they were not alone. Hundreds of people followed, their faces full of hope and determination. Councillor Vanes met them at the entrance, his sharp eyes narrowing. "You think you can change the city with words?" he sneered. Jack stepped forward. "Words are more powerful than fear, and people are stronger than rulers." The council was silent. Zalara spoke next. "We ask for fairness, for justice, and for the right to live without fear." For a moment, the room was still. Then, Slowly, some council members nodded. Others looked away. The city was changing, and even the council could feel it. Outside, the people celebrated. It had shown that hope could rise even in the darkest places. Jack smiled as he looked at Zalara. "This is only the beginning," he said. She nodded, her eyes shining. "Together, we will build a better future." The city of Zaira Prime had been shaken. The old chains of fear and control were breaking, and from the shattered pieces, new bonds were rising, bonds of courage, kindness, and unity. The human man had become a symbol, not just of hope, but of what it meant to be truly human. The city of Zaira Prime woke up that morning with a quiet energy. The streets were filled with people moving with purpose, smiles on their faces, and hope in their hearts. The change that had begun with a human man named Jack was growing stronger. Every day, Jack stood on a small hill overlooking the city. Beside him was Zalara, her eyes bright with pride and hope. Together, they watched the sun rise over the shining towers and bustling neighborhoods. "We've come far," Zalara said softly, "but the journey is just beginning." Jack smiled. The city is waking up. People are ready for something new. Since the peaceful stand against fear, the city had started to heal. Walls between communities were coming down. Aliens and humans worked side by side. Gardens bloomed where once there was only dust and darkness at Safe Haven. The small community center that had once been a refuge for the lost, the energy was vibrant. People learned new skills, shared stories, and helped each other build a better life. Jack and Zalara walked through the center, greeting friends and neighbors. They stopped by a group of children playing together, their laughter filling the air. "Look at them," Jack said. "This is what we fight for." Zalara nodded. "A future where fear no longer controls us." But even with the progress, challenges remained. The Alien Council had not disappeared. They watched carefully, unsure how to respond to a city no longer afraid. Jack and Zalara knew they had to keep working, to build trust and understanding between all who called Zaira Prime home. One day, a special meeting was called at the city's largest hall. Leaders from different neighborhoods, both alien and human, gathered to talk about the future. Jack stood before the crowd, his voice steady and warm. "We have proven that we can change the city," he said. "But change requires all of us. It requires respect, kindness, and courage." Zalara spoke next. "We must listen to each other, learn from each other, and work together. Only then can we build a city where everyone belongs." The crowd cheered. For many, this was the first time they felt truly included. After the meeting, groups formed to help with schools, clean water, and safe housing. People who had once lived in fear now took pride in their neighborhoods. Even the city's gangs, once feared and powerful, began to change. Some members joined community groups, choosing peace over violence. Jack watched this new spirit with quiet joy. He knew the road was long, but every small step was a victory. One evening, as the twin suns set, Jack and Zalara stood on the rooftop of Safe Haven. The city stretched out before them, alive with light and hope. "Do you ever miss your home?" Jack asked gently. Zalara smiled. "Sometimes. But this city is becoming my home, because here I have found something I lost: hope." Jack nodded. "Hope is the strongest thing there is." Suddenly, a message arrived from the Alien Council. They requested a meeting. Jack and Zalara prepared carefully. They did not know what to expect, but they were ready at the council chambers. The leaders greeted them with respect, though their faces were serious. Counselor Yella stepped forward. "The city has changed, and so must we," she said. "We want to work with you to build a better future." Jack looked at Zalara. This was the moment they had hoped for, a chance to heal the city from the top down. "We accept your offer," Jack said, "but only if it is for the good of all people." The meeting ended with promises to listen, to include, and to respect every citizen of Zaira Prime. As they left the chambers, Zalara turned to Jack. "This is a new beginning." Jack smiled. "Together, we will build a city where no one is left behind, back at Safe Haven," the people celebrated. Music filled the air, and laughter echoed through the streets. The city of Zaire Prime was no longer a place of fear and division. It was a city of hope, courage, and unity. And at the heart of this new dawn was a human man who showed everyone the power of kindness and the strength of the human spirit. Jack looked at the stars rising above the city. His journey had started, with pain and loss, but now it was a journey of hope and new beginnings. With Zialara by his side and the people of Zaire Prime behind him, he knew one thing for certain: the future was bright.